Hello and welcome to yet another video, and in this video it is something actually very interesting for me personally because I've been using this camera for quite a while now and I have a lot of things to say about it. The main reason why I want to do this video is because it's not really specifically just for this camera, but just for like compact cameras of this caliber, because if you know me, I love using different type of digicams like these types. They are much more durable. They are much more utilitarian, so to speak. Like I can set full manual stuff with these cameras and I can rely on like professional work to come out of, you know, these cameras. Not to say that you can't get good results out of these ones, you can, but it's a different type of results that you're getting out of them. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So this is the Casio Z750. The only reason I remember the name is because I related to the D750 and just changed the D to a Z. And Casio cameras has always been like EX and then something something because it's from the X-Slim line of cameras. Because I used to actually own quite a few of the EX line of cameras from Casio way back before I got into photography, because they were pretty popular actually at the time, aside, you know, alongside Olympus, Nikon, Canon's compact cameras. And my friend will always make fun out of Casio cameras simply because it has the BS button. I guess you all know what BS means, but for Casio, the BS button is for best shot button. Anyway, this video, just as usual, I'll be dividing it into 3 different sections. One is the ergonomics and the usability of it, and then moving down into the image quality. I'll also be talking slightly about the video quality, just not too much of it for obvious reasons, and then into the conclusion. So let's first start with the ergonomics and the usability of this camera. Well, this camera, it's overall very light, like, well, I think lighter than quite a few bar of soaps, despite looking like a bar of soap. It's definitely much lighter than these cameras. It has its own viewfinder, which is great, though it's actually the one that, you know, looking out of this tiny, puny little thing, and it's just up here. So yeah, it is not usable in most cases. In most cases, you will be relying on your screen. And talking about the screen, it is definitely bright enough to see in super bright sunlight. It's a good enough screen if you just want to see general color accuracy, general detail of the images, but it's not going to be super, you know, bright against super direct sunlight. But that is to be expected. But it is still a very good camera that is actually well built for the price and also for the range. Everything seems very well built and also very tactile, because you know, I'm not going to be pressing on the mode dial or just turning the mode dial by accident. Of course, with people who has bigger palm than I do, might accidentally press on the D-pad here, but there are, you know, good confirmation clicks that makes you feel that like, okay, you actually press it. It's a confirmed press. Everything has to be very deliberate. So that's actually pretty good for such a small camera, and also actually packs quite a few features. You can actually go into full manual function and actually kind of change your aperture, though it only really changes from f2.8 to f4. Not sure how usable that would be, but for a smaller sensor camera, I think going between f2.8 and f4 is very dramatic as well. So there is that. And talking about like the usability of it, the menu system in here is very plain, very simple, very basic, very organized, so you can actually reach 2 different settings very easily, very quickly, and also very efficiently as well. And also the layout of the display doesn't really distract you a lot, unless if you have a lot of the information activated to be viewed, like your histogram, your different sorts of setting values there, then that can actually be a bit distracting, but otherwise it works just fine. And the autofocusing system on this camera is actually quite nice and responsive as well. The moment I take it out, it's focus. Yes, it's focus, focus, focus. Sorry, I just have the tone turned off. But when you're focusing on anything that has very high contrast level, it doesn't focus that well. So just keep that in mind. But that is also to be expected with these older cameras as well, because even premium compacts from the time, they also struggle focusing. Sorry, it's just been on my lap this whole time and it's tiring. they will just struggle with high contrast areas when it comes to focusing anyway. So there is that. But otherwise, everything responds the way it should. It is actually a very silent operating camera, so that's actually pretty good. Though you can actually activate like a fake shutter sound or a fake, well, not fake, but kind of like autofocusing sound. It's just I have everything turned off so that it's more of a stealth kind of quiet camera. So just turning it on and then that's one picture taken. So that has been done in just a matter of like a second or second-ish. So that's actually quite fast. The downside though is after taking a picture, it can take a little while to actually write the picture down into the image card, well, the SD card. And talking about the SD card, it takes very low capacity SD cards, like up to I think either 1 or 2 gigabytes, and I don't have those. I do have like a 2 gigabyte one, but that is in another compact camera that I'm also currently testing and also using. So I'm only using the 128 megabyte cards. Yes, 128 megabytes. If you use any higher, in most cases, it will take very long to start up and you will only see like media storage card cannot be read or something like that, or just some sort of error message. So just keep that in mind with these older digital cameras. The capacity of memory cards really matters a lot. And otherwise, the battery is actually quite big for this type of camera, because this type of camera does not demand a lot of power, and that means one battery will probably last you a few days before you have to recharge it again, so that's actually pretty good. And due to the form factor and the lightweight of it, you can actually just take it anywhere with you. Anyway, now on to the image quality. The image quality out of this camera is, well, quite nostalgic digital kind of look. There are a lot of chromatic aberration, a lot of color fringing as to be expected, and it is also very pixelated, kind of a look that you usually get from like a super tiny sensor out of these digicams. But under super good lighting conditions, you will be able to still get really nice images out of it. If you know how to use the lighting, very well to your advantage, then you will get very interesting looks out of it. And there are people who are really into those looks and able to produce really good results out of just those looks. So yeah, I highly respect those. It's not always my type, but it is very good. I love the colors out of this camera as well. It kind of reminded me of, the time before I started photography, and I used a lot of the Casio cameras. I had a lot of them because they're so fun to use, and this one is also still very fun to use. But the colors from that time is also in here, and obviously it has to be in here as well since it's the same brand and it's roughly the same class of cameras anyway. But it did bring back a lot of nostalgic. It's very neutral, but it's also very nice. There's something about the rendition in the colors of Casio cameras that are very nice that I cannot find with other brands. And even though my favorite color science is still from a Canon camera, even way back to those digicam times, but Casio will always have a special place in my heart because the character of it, the grain of it is just very nice, and it has its own muted color to it, but in the same time it's also vibrant despite being muted in the same time. Yes, it is very noisy. Using this camera in, like, let's say close to sunset situations, you will get a lot of noise and a lot of pixelations, but that's part of the fun of using this kind of cameras anyway. And it's just a very nice camera to just snap around because you will get nice color images regardless of the lighting condition. So yeah, there is that. Sure, if you want to go into more detail, the contrast does raise too high at super high contrast situations that you lose a lot of dynamic range and a lot of details, but those things are probably not something that you're looking for when buying into this camera. So yeah, but the skin tones, the rendition of the skin tones out of this camera is actually quite nice. So yeah, there is that. If you're shooting a lot against fine detail, like brick walls, things like that, be careful of moire and aliasing. You will see that very heavily in both photography and video mode. And talking about that, let's go into video mode. It is a very old camera, so I'm not even going to touch on the resolution of it. It will get the job done. Whatever the flaws in photography mode you will see, it's going to be emphasized a lot in video mode. So you will see a lot of the moire and aliasing, a lot of the pixelation, and Yeah, but otherwise the image stabilization in this lens actually works quite well for the time when this camera was out, so you can actually get some pretty decent shot at the telephoto length of this particular camera. So yeah, there is that. Otherwise, now onto the conclusion. Overall, I do still get the appeal of this camera, although being a photographer, I would still consider this Digicam as, you know, a nice nostalgic Digicam that I would like to use over this one. I would still recommend it because of the price and how accessible these cameras are. Not necessarily just this model, but just this kind of Digicam in general. The colors are there, it's very fun to play with. It's just for me that I'm a photographer and I still like to have full manual control of everything, and this kind of camera you still can get that nostalgic digital look, albeit with a much more robust file, and I can shoot RAW with it. That means I can also just edit the pictures with more leeways later in Lightroom or any other editing software that I choose to edit with. So yeah, and these cameras also accept higher capacity cards, so which means I can use, you know, more modern cards or just cards that are more accessible nowadays. So yeah, there is that. I hope that this video just helped you somewhat. Personally, making this video has been kind of nostalgic for me because it allowed me to actually go back into this kind of technology and just put myself on more limitations deliberately. Not sure if that's a good thing, but it definitely made me realize a lot of things about like where I've come from, like where I came from, and also like my starting journey in photography, and also, you know, finding the joy in using this kind of camera still today. So yeah, that's it for this particular video. If you have any questions, any suggestions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. If you have if you want a photography guidebook, which is free, it's on my website. The link is down in the description section below as well. So as my photography courses as well, it's also on my website. The link is also down in the description section below as well. They're both free and paid ones depending on the genre, so yeah, there is that. Otherwise, I thank you all very much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful somewhat, or at least you can gain something from this video, if not a lot, then a little. But yeah, thank you all very much again for watching. Stay safe, have fun shooting. Till next time, bye for now.